Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Ashley, and today I'm joined by Peyton Relkin. Peyton is the co-founder and CEO of Nature's Playbook, a platform designed to inspire curiosity, encourage mindfulness, and foster a community that values the outdoors and nature. And I'm excited for this conversation and to dive into the power of adventure and embracing the unknown. So with that, Peyton, welcome to the podcast. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you, Ashley. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be on and just chat with you.
Well, it's great to be here, PJ, and connect in this space and have you on as a guest. Just really inspired by your journey and your passion for connecting people with the outdoors. And so I want to start there. This podcast is all about our personal stories and experiences. So tell us a little bit about your why and going from ideation to launch of Nature's Playbook.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question, and I love starting with why, because that's where everybody should start, is with the why. So Nature's Playbook actually, long story short, was originally my mom's idea, and she tried to start it like years ago, actually when I was growing up, and it was just as a way for her to like find ways to connect with nature and honestly have like a visual understanding of how to connect with different activities in the outdoors during traveling. And the technology wasn't really there at that point. And so I got the opportunity when I was finishing up college at CU. I had the opportunity of kind of bringing the idea back to life just to see if it had legs or anything. And that was a really cool time because I know it was something that she was really passionate about. And the more I heard about, her reasoning for why to connect with outdoors and everything, it became really inspiring for me to like really make it happen. So backtracking a bit, my personal connection to nature is through horses. So I'm like a big horse girl, and I grew up actually like training to be a jockey and race riding. And
Wow.
And so that's like really all I did. And I spent all my time outside. I never wanted an office job. I just like loved being outdoors and in any way that I could. And around the time that I brought up the idea of Nature's Playbook with my mom again, I also had just had my first child, and the race riding world was kind of on hold for me for various different reasons. But I was just trying to find new ways to explore the outdoors with a baby, which I honestly had no idea where to start, which sounds silly because it could be like really simple. Like you literally just take them outside and let them play with dirt. But I just found this to be such a great like idea as a tool to just like help people get used to being outside. Like everybody connects to nature differently, and it could be, there could be different reasons that are keeping you from connecting to nature. So I'm trying to like break down the barriers and just make it all more appreciated and easy
For sure. And there's a big part of what you're doing in Nature's Playbook to really foster that community. So how have you seen that evolve?
Yeah. Oh, it's been really cool. So you can have like groups on the app and connect with people to get outside. And it's been fun to see, honestly, just the community like sharing various experiences. Like I think the outdoors in general is a really positive community. And to have a platform where they're like, literally like paying an experience forward, as we call it, to somebody else. So, including like a post on Nature's Playbook is like, you can include helpful tips to do the same experience over, any links for like gear and guide recommendations. It has, the link to where to find it on the map. So it's really helping to enable somebody else to partake in that experience. And I think like that mindset of the people that have been posting on the app are really like, it's just positive and loving and genuinely sharing the love for outdoors with others.
I was just going to say too, I mean, talking about getting outside with your baby, I imagine this, just sparks different ideas for yourself and for others, right? Of ways that you can get out and that you can explore and adventure, and it doesn't have to just look a certain way every time.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, before having kids, I was like, okay, you can like hike all the time. You can, and a lot of people still hike with their babies. Like I see all these influencers online, like carrying their baby up a 14er, and I'm like, oh my gosh, major credit to you, and props to you for that. But I could not do that. And like I was like way more active then, but with kids, it's like really opened up doors and ideas to explore. Because there's honestly, our communities have so many resources that I believe are underutilized. Like whether it's like public parks, public gardens, even like local libraries have like I've ran into like seed uh planting education courses, or where they help children like literally plant seeds and then take it home to put in the garden, and just at the local library. So like all these things that help people reconnect with nature. And it's been cool actually, because especially in the last few years, like since there have been so many more remote jobs and more screen time, and obviously because of COVID, I think it's something that we, like, our human nature really craves, but we don't always necessarily realize that, because there's also a lot of stigma about being an outdoorsy person, has to like look a certain way or do certain things, you know?
Elaborate on that, because I feel like there's certain stigmas within the athlete world that I
Yeah.
can speak to. So I'm really curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah. So I talk to a lot of people about like, it's funny even sharing like, oh, I have an outdoor app. Would you like post some experiences, or just trying to create awareness around it? And so many people are like, oh, well, I'm not an outdoorsy person. And it's because, whether you don't hike all the time, or maybe you don't run, or whatever the idea is, like I think it's easy for our society to get like a certain picture in your mind about what a certain somebody should be. Like in an
Yeah.
outdoorsy scene, like you imagine somebody carrying a backpack on a mountain or something like that. But I'm like, if you have a hammock and want to hang it up on a tree and like read a book outside, that's outdoorsy.
I love that you brought that up, because I do think there is this connotation, right, when you think about outdoors just as a genre, or if you're going shopping and you're looking for something and it's under outdoors, and there's this very specific image that you can get what that means. And to your
Yeah.
point here, it's so far beyond that. You don't have to go and, climb. I don't even know the names of these big mountains that these hikers climb, because I don't hike. But you don't have to do that to be able to
Yeah.
get outdoors, and how that can just be so expansive, connecting with nature, what that can do, and how that can really open you up to different possibilities, and just, expand your mind and your perspective in ways.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so true. I mean, there's a lot more studies now that are connecting the relation between mental health and being outside. So it's like even just like spending 15 minutes outside a day can significantly reduce your chances, or your mental health, anxiety, and depression. And it's obviously not for everybody, but I feel like every little thing can really make a difference. So like, I mean, I've noticed even starting a business, like I have a lot more screen time myself. So I'm like, even things like taking a call outside, or drinking coffee in the morning outside, anything like that makes a huge difference. So I'd love to hear like what are some of the stigmas that you were thinking of, like from the athlete side?
No, I think one of the big things, like the clothing that we wear, they're like, oh, you don't wear makeup because you're an athlete, or
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff from like a body image perspective, that I know myself and teammates, we have these, former teammates of mine, we have these discussions, right? There were certain pressures that you kind of come into. And then what happens with that is that it starts to really mold your identity and who you are. So when you come out of the sport, you can stay stuck in, oh, well, I'm just an athlete and I do this, so I should stay within this box here because that's how people see me and it's acceptable in this way. And so I think that has been just something I personally have go through still, as somebody who's very active, that try to break out of. You don't need to stay within this box here. You're so much more than just this thing that you have done. And I think that speaks to a lot just generically, right? Like not just as an athlete or somebody who starts a business as an entrepreneur. Oftentimes we can put ourselves in these boxes, right? But really to go beyond that, there's a lot of possibilities. So I love that, when it comes specifically to the outdoors, where you're saying like, hey, just getting outside for 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day, take a call on a walk or start your day, have a coffee outside. That also is inclusive of being outdoors, right? It's not just, you're going to Kilimanjaro or something.
Right, exactly. And yeah, exactly. Like I said, there's so many different ways that people connect. I mean, literally, it could be gardening, or it could just be like strolling on a beach, or like literally just sitting outside. But just the fresh air, the trees, like whatever it is, whatever your vibe is to be outdoors, like it all is a natural way for you to like just calm down and like whatever, free your brain, increase creativity, is all there. And I love that you brought up like the identity crisis, because I think that's something that, like you said, like it's really easy to do that naturally, I think, in any circumstance. I definitely faced it too when I stopped race riding, and continue to face it. Like I tried to like fill that gap with like motherhood or anything, entrepreneurship. But my mom actually told me really recently that it was just a great reminder. Like we so often let our identities control us, but like you really do have a choice to control your identity and to change like who you are and define what you do in your everyday life. So anyway.
Yeah. And I think as you continue to evolve, right, and learn more about yourself, learn more about others, it's like it opens you up. I don't have to stay within this box, right? I don't have to stay here. I can step outside of that, and what else is out there, right? It's that curiosity piece, I think. And when we go outside and we explore, we discover something new, we discover something more, we discover something different. And the same thing happens with ourselves whenever we step outside, and we can learn so much about ourselves that we maybe never thought was possible. And then where could that lead to? What could that spark within us?
Yeah, exactly. And there's so much opportunity too. Like the cool thing is people are, I think, innately like super kind. And so if you like wanted to try something new outdoors and like didn't know where to start or didn't feel comfortable because you're like, I'm an adult now, like only kids start that. Like there are communities out there that have full on groups of people that are like starting from scratch, learning something new. And so that's what, honestly, the take that that's my perception of Nature's Playbook. I'm not an expert in any of this. And there's like so much that I would want to learn or try something new. And there's like, local surfing communities. So, if you wanted to learn to surf as an adult, you can try that, or skateboarding. And it's all these things that, I honestly, before having kids, I was like, well, I focused on horses. So my thing was horses, and I won't have an opportunity to try anything else. Yeah. And then having kids, ironically, really, I don't know if it's ironic or not, but it opened up my mind to like be like, okay, so I can learn to skateboard when my son's learning to skateboard, or like, I can try all these things with my kids, and it makes it that more fun that you're doing it like with somebody that you love too. Yeah,
I love that. What is something new that you have tried that you've discovered that you really enjoy doing?
Well, I still want to learn to surf more, to be honest. I don't do it regularly, but I'm like trying to dabble, getting in the water more. And I have to say, it's not too far from horses, but I got chickens, and I love my chickens. And so like that is super random, not necessarily an activity, but that's like what draws me to the outdoors every day. And I never thought I would like chickens, but after getting them, they each have such funky personalities, and they're really fun and entertaining to care for. So that's probably my biggest thing that I wouldn't have expected.
What's really important about what you said, I think, is that I didn't expect to like chickens until I had them. And I think that's such a lesson, because it's like sometimes we have these perceptions, or like maybe we won't go into something because we think that we're not going to like the thing, or it's not for us. Or I've had plenty of those where I'm like, not my thing. That is for those people over there. Not my
Yeah.
thing. Until you open yourself up to it and you try it and you're like, okay, well, maybe it might be my thing, but I don't know yet, but it might be.
Yeah.
And you can really learn to discover something new that you really like, and you're like, all right, this might be my thing.
Absolutely. No, I'd love to hear something that you found, but one other example is like for my birthday a couple years ago, I wanted to go skydiving. And so I got my husband to go with me, and I had a blast. Like, it was amazing. But my husband actually was the one that was like, wow, I want to get a skydiving instructor license. Like, he wants to go all in. He's still not quite there yet, but he's like, that was something that he fell in love with. And he was like terrified to jump out of the airplane.
Wow. Imagine that. Imagine being scared to do something, and then you do it, and then you just conquer this fear, and you find it's so freeing to not let something that fear that maybe had the power over you, now you're taking that power back. That's so freeing.
Yeah, it is. It's so freeing. That
Yeah.
makes me think of like this. I couldn't tell you where it's from. I think it's from a book or something, but like, have you ever heard that saying that's like, oh, what if I fall? Like, I'm thinking about taking the leap, and you're like, what if I fall? And then the person on the other side is like, but what if you fly?
What if you fly? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so true. It's so true. And it's those possibilities, that you really don't know until you go out there and do it. I mean, back to your question about some of the things that I've stepped into, one of the big things was doing improv classes with my husband.
Right.
Yeah. So we're both like, we have this athlete background. We have similar interests in a lot of ways, but this is like totally out of left field for us. And he really pushed us into doing this. And it was really stretching, because we're like, this is not something you would expect from either of us to do. And we did it. And you learn so much, because first of all, you're in a group of with people that are coming from all different backgrounds and have different intentions as to why they're doing this. And then everybody is just there, and you're just silly, and you're free to be silly, and it's no judgment. You're doing these things that like but it's crazy, because you think about how often, right, we do that. We just judge ourselves and the things that we're doing, and we're like, oh, what is this person going to think of me if I do this thing? What is that person going to think of me? And when you're in this place of improv, nobody is thinking about that, no one's thinking. And I think it's just such a big lesson, because we often we think that other people are thinking about us, and they're really not, in the sense of what it is that we're doing. And that can hold us back so much from just stepping into that thing. So
Yeah.
that was a big one.
No, that's so cool. I would never thought, like, I didn't know that they have those where you could just join.
Yeah.
That sounds like such a great environment, actually, because it feels like, I imagine that's super freeing.
So when do we ever do that anymore? We're so uptight about what this person's going to think of me. Like, why can't we just, come on, Note to self.
I want to look for one of those, especially, I don't know if they offer those like with kids too, but my son would love that, because I feel like, especially like, kids have such great imaginations.
Yes.
And sometimes it's hard for me to get back on that level. Like, I remember having a good imagination as a kid, playing and different games that I would play with my friends, but like, now it's hard to step into that. So I feel like that's a really great way to like you said, open up and get back to
totally
innate, childlike you.
For sure. And it is that I feel like we miss that so often, right? This like childlike play and wonder that was in each and every one of us, that like we would just go out fearlessly. And and see what's underneath the rock. So I want to cultivate that kind of wonder and that kind of curiosity, and I think that there's ways that we can do that. And so, yeah, having these kind of conversations are inspiring to me. So thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thanks for sharing that. That's so fun.
So I want to get back to you. There's something that you mentioned recently that stood out to me, and I want to bring up because I'm big on teamwork and collaboration and working with one another. And you mentioned that this past year showed you the power of teamwork in action. So can you speak to that a little bit more, some of the challenges that you have faced and how working alongside others in that way has made the difference?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. The biggest change, we made a couple changes in the last year. One, we switched from a development agency to an internal development team. And that was the biggest change. And the other part was just hiring an extra hand to have other ideas for content creation and outreach. And so the extra hands was like really, really awesome because there were so many ideas and opportunities to like reach out to people who we would have never thought, could provide, growth to the company or just genuine connections and conversations that were really beautiful. And then as far as like the development team, like that was really the biggest change. And I think it's just that like as an entrepreneur, when I was in school, I actually studied entrepreneurship at CU. So the one thing that they like really hounded at us all the time and something that investors really look at is the team, like the team more than the idea. And it was something I heard, but like, I was like, yeah, obviously we'll have a great team. And the agency that we worked with was somebody just in our network who we chose to work with. And of course, they got us, to where we were last year and did a great job with the product and everything. But they specialized in like healthcare versus social media and nature apps. So it just like wasn't quite the alignment that I didn't know that we needed. And so when we found an internal developer, it's like our improvements in development and expansion have just like soared over the last few months. And it's like little things that I think most people probably don't see on the outside, but things that I've been trying to get done for a long time, like over a year, are just like, it's like things like flying off the shelf getting done. So it just feels like we're really getting somewhere now. And so I think that's where like analyzing your team, not just as far as, there's an aspect of like knowing that you can work well with each other, but then, and that's extremely important too. So the culture is everything. And that's something I've been studying too. But then also the aspect of, okay, I'm sorry, I'm processing here. So
Hey, I'm here for it.
Thanks. So the one aspect of really knowing everyone's strengths and weaknesses on your team. So you're more efficient in getting things done. But then also like being aligned in your passion, making sure that everybody's on the same mission moving forward is like above all, like what you're going for, because everybody has to be on the same page to get you to the next level.
Totally. No, I love that. I love the focus on the strengths and weaknesses, because in any team, I mean, I think about it with sport, right? And why does it not translate sometimes into business? Because on teams, especially, I think specifically with basketball, it's like you have different positions, right? And different roles that you play, and we play to one another's strengths. And so the same thing in the workplace, where it's like everybody brings something different to the table, which is good.
Yeah.
But we need to understand that. We need to know that in one another. We need to understand communication styles. We need to understand where somebody can really thrive and where someone else can thrive, and then how we can all work together in these ways. Because when you get that down, it's like you go from here to here because you're bringing the best out in one another. And that's where the team ultimately scores. I think it's so important to understand that in the culture.
That's so true. Because really, I mean, nobody can do it by themselves, obviously. I think really understanding, like you said, everybody's weaknesses too and how to work with them, you'd want to be there to spot somebody in case they fall, you know? So it's
Totally.
like being able to just help out and like come full circle all together. I guess I'm not good with words, but you know what I mean.
Hey, you and me both, sister, but we're doing it. I totally agree. I think there's nothing to me like more beautiful than teamwork and truly coming together. And that doesn't just mean that like, hey, everyone's within the same group and you're doing this thing. Teamwork means a lot more, you
It does.
know? It really does. And that's where it's like, gosh, like we're all a piece of this. And can we really understand one another in this way? And that's why it's like, again, using basketball in this way, but the off court communication and that kind of, that's why we do these team building activities, right? That's why we spend time with one another outside, because then
Yeah.
you get to know one another more. And then that translates onto on-court performance. Not saying that like, hey, you're going to go spend, all your out of office hours with your colleagues. Not saying that at all. But I think it's really important when you start building that, because then you just have a greater understanding of one another. And then when you understand one another, you see, hey, when somebody communicates this way, you know
Yeah.
where they're trying to go with this thing, right? And you can go from there. So anyway, that's so important.
It is so important. And you're right. You get to see them as like a human, not just as
Yes.
like somebody who may not be doing the best at a certain task. Or like, I feel like in the work environment and probably in sports too, but it's easy to develop pet peeves, not in a bad way, but you're just like, oh, I'm trying to just get this done. And you just like don't look at people as humans like they are. So um it's it's a really valuable piece, like you said, just getting together outside of the work environment and doing things where you can relate on a different level. That's something that's like extremely important to me too. And we tell everybody on our team, if you need a day to get outside or we just need to go for a hike together or something, take it, because your mental health is like extremely important, and we see you as a person. Not everybody's going to have a great day every day. So it's being able to show up for each other even when one of us has a bad day.
That's so good. It makes all the difference. And yeah, when you are really seen as a human on the other side first, I think it just connects you to the mission all the more of what you're doing. It connects you to your team all the more. And it's all the more motivating to show up, right? Because you know that I'm valued, like you have value here. And the people you're working with see you beyond just the work that you're doing. And if there is something that's going on, it's going to impact how it is that you show up. It's going to impact your productivity level. So why aren't we checking in on this level,
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You want to strengthen them as a person, not just
Mm,
as somebody in the work environment. So,
so good. So
yeah.
good. Something else I really that I noticed that I want to bring up, because I really like this word. So I want to get your take on it. You shared some quotes from John Gordon, and one specifically on grit. So I want to ask what grit means to you, and how has it played a role in as you continue to build Nature's Playbook and with some of the things that you've gone through.
Man, that's such a good question. Grit, I feel like, is a word that has been haunting me lately, to be honest. So I love that you brought it up. It's a great word, and it's hard for me to define it. So if I were to define grit, it's just like having the oomph to keep you going,
Mm,
And it's sometimes really hard to find that because life gets busy and you get overwhelmed with like all these things, whether it's, family life, work life. I mean, I work from home and I homeschool my kids from home. So it's like a lot that can pile on itself. And sometimes it's like really hard, or I should say really easy, to question what I'm doing, whether I'm doing it right, whether it's the timing or purpose or whatever that is. But grit is something that, like, I actually think John Gordon said this too. I don't want to misquote him, but I think he said it's something that we innately all have.
mm.
And it's just a matter of like finding it and helping it show up in everyday life. So he actually has this concept called the one word challenge, and it's where you like pick one word for the year, and he used it as an example. He ironically used the word grit as the example when he told me about it, but it's like would be, just using that word as a reminder to like have grit in your relationships, in your house, in your job. And honestly, I feel like that word just means to show up. So
I love it. I mean, when I think of that word, I think, endurance is one of my favorite words. This is the Endurance Diaries, right? It's what's building within us, and it's already within us. And it's these things that we go through that we continue to build the endurance for that next thing that we're going to ultimately, inevitably go through. And so it's that grit, right? It's that keeps you going. It's what keeps you showing up even whenever everything is telling you not to. Yeah, I really think it's a powerful word and something that, I like to own and say, yeah, I got that. So
yeah, oh, me too. That's why I said I think it's haunting me, because I'm like, I feel like I need more of that.
No, you got it. It's in you. It's in each and every one of us. And I think these are these reminders, right?
I think really like, and this I think has to do a little bit with that grit and having like the confidence in what you're doing to stick to it. Is like, I truly believe that like, so I believe in God, and I really believe that he talks to each one of us in different forms. And I think sometimes there's things that only you can see, that only you can hear and know that you should be doing, and to take responsibility for doing it. And I actually think now, I'm just thinking out loud, but I feel like that's a little bit of where that grit comes from. Is like just the connection and like the energy feeling that you should be doing something. So
it's so good. No, that really is. I appreciate you sharing that, because I believe the same. It doesn't have to look like everybody else, right? And
yeah.
I think that's what's so unique when we hear things, we experience things, when we have that, that kind of nudge internally. I know it's a word that's used a lot, but really that nudge internally of doing something or stepping into something and believing in that and having that faith throughout it. And when you have that knowing, it's what keeps you showing up, because it goes far beyond yourself and it's for much greater purpose than we can even imagine and see here. So I love that you shared that. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. I think you're so right. It's things that we just don't even, it might seem silly to do, honestly, but if you're having that nudge, I say like, just do it, knowing that it's a good thing.
Totally. Feel like it's a continual learning and a continual like letting go of, a continual surrender. Oftentimes, you try to grab onto this thing and control what it's going to look like so we can influence the outcome of it. But, we believe that everything God created is good. And so I really believe that my version of what's good isn't always what's good for me. And so it's a little reframing of the mind that I try to do. I don't always do it. So this is a reminder.
Yeah, no, that's so true. I feel like it's really hard to keep that mindset too. But as far as just knowing that there could be good coming out of anything, no matter what the situation is, which I know can be really sensitive because people go through like really difficult things.
100%.
All right, so I'm gonna tell this story. I wasn't gonna talk about it, but so when I was race riding, like I knew in my head that I was gonna be a jockey, and so I tried like everything, and I kept going after it. And then I was actually in an accident where the horse flipped over and rolled on top of me and broke my pelvis and like a bunch of ribs and all this stuff. But I remember like being in that moment and just being like, this sucks, number one. And then number two, like, okay, God, this is in your hands. Like, I literally can't get up, so this is you, and you have to show me the good. And I think about that often, actually, because it provided so many other opportunities that I think are really leading me to my purpose, and that's just like sharing love and being loving and encouraging to other people. And it's something like I prayed about for a long time, is just like, God, show me the way, like show me how to love and how to encourage and be there for other people and model it for my kids. And And then recently I like thought about that moment, and then it like brought me to where like my family actually took me in. My uncle and my aunt took me in, and my cousins, like they like just cared for me when I couldn't be cared for like in any other way. And so like that model of like love and kindness and just like opportunity, you know, because then I moved to Colorado, my husband had kids, like so many good things came out of it. But it's like sorry, I'm kind of going on a little rant here, but it's
I love
God
it.
has a way, you know?
Yeah, it doesn't take away from the heart of the things that we're going through. That's for sure.
Yes.
But it's
Absolutely.
a connection to hope. I think that's what keeps me like, okay, if I can just stay connected to hope in this, I don't know what the next, what it's going to look like a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. I can imagine, but can I just have this, can I just find this place of connection to hope and then go from there? Because trust me, I mean, I have my own stories. It's not easy.
Yeah.
Like truly, truly, truly. We all have these things, right, that we go through that we struggle with. It's why I love this space, because I get to have these conversations, that I wouldn't necessarily always have, the way they've been connected to others and the way that things have, and then these stories get to be shared, and then people are listening in, and then it's like, they get to hear what you've shared, PJ. It's the possibilities, right, that
Yeah.
your experiences and your stories could resonate with somebody, connect with somebody, and then that could bring them hope, right? It's those possibilities, really.
Yeah, it is. It's all about the possibilities and like knowing, it's just you're planting a seed one way or another. So you can plant a seed and like help nurture it to grow, and or like let somebody else nurture it to grow. You never know. You might have indirectly planted the seed with somebody, and then they foster it and it grows into something beautiful. So you're absolutely right. And I have to say, like, I've heard so many amazing stories on your podcast, and it's so true. No matter where you are in life or what you're doing, like you can make a difference in somebody else's life. And it's that one person that you can impact. So it's really cool what you're doing. I love this and love all the people that you bring on. So I feel really honored to be here.
Thank you so much for being here, for doing this with me and sharing this space.
Yes, thank you, Ashley. I really, really appreciate being here. So thank you.